Unya mga leaders pod sa mga kompanya karon ila pong gitudlo sa ilahang mga empleyado nga kamo manayaw sad mo. Ngano man na ba? Unsa may tan-aw nimo ba? Cultural explanation na ngano man na nga hantod karon ang atong pagka-elementarya, atong pagka-high school, wag na usab. Sige gyud patag sayo-sayaw kada Christmas party.
Actually, wala jud ko'y mahuna-huna ang explanation bahin ana. I've always wondered pod nga no that seems to be the case. Pero I think part of it might be nga gusto nila na-recognize pod nila bang ang benefits of having people sing and dance. It's a way pod of bringing people together and all that. I've always believed in the power of music.
The power of music. So tanaw nimo kani siya dili ni siya high school never ends.
Oh, dili siya high school never ends, but it's just more like value.
High school like lang.
High school like
yeah. Can't we think of something to else to do that values music and fosters camaraderie and friendship and all of that stuff? Di ba naman tayo mga gitawag nila team building exercises, right?
Oo, na
mga nana, di ba? Or whatnot, right? Anyway, it's just for me, it's just kind of how do I say it? Juvenile, I think. I think it's
okay.
And there's nothing wrong with being a child, right? I mean,
of course not.
I mean, like that's one of the most beautiful things in the world to be able to see and look at the world through the eyes of a child, di ba? Nindot ng yugay na tanan.
Yeah.
Pero I don't know. Maybe we can use that in other ways. I'm just not a big fan of kaning Christmas presentations, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it when I was a kid. Now that I'm all grown up and still look like an as tall as a kid, but I still don't like it. Anyway, there are certain things that we cannot explain, but there are some people who can help explain it, right? And we have my dear friend here, who is a good friend of mine, and also he's a what he would call himself is a amateur astronomer. We have Christopher Go. Mayang adlaw ni mo Sir Christopher. At imong gipawang ang audio.
Nadiri.
Mayong adlaw ni mo sir. Good afternoon.
Yes. Kadungog mo na ako?
Yes.
Puerting Claruha, sir. Puerting Claruha. Mayong hapon nimo, ayong udto nimo sir. Kaninga naghisgot mo gud may ganiha sir og Christmas presentation ba ikaw sir? Naapog kay mga Christmas presentation sa inyong kompanya sir? Sa imong kompanya?
Wala raman.
Wala ra mo sayo-sayo diha og kanta-kanta?
Oh, sila rin manganta, hindi mo kumukanta.
So nagid mo yung mga pa-contest, ana?
Wala ra kanang sila rin mag-karaoke ang mga tao nako.
Okay. Before you start, sir, can you kindly introduce yourself, sir? Who is Christopher Go to our listeners? Go ahead.
Well, I'm a Cebuano. I'm currently a faculty of the University of San Carlos Physics Department, where I teach astronomy. I've been an amateur astronomer since 1985, so that's about 40 years from now. Ago.
Wow.
So I've been, my expertise is in outer planets, where I join researchers from different space agencies and universities all over the world, where we do outer planet research, especially Jupiter and Saturn. So I support these professional astronomers by giving them data so they can study these outer planets. So we're mostly studying the atmospheres of outer planets. So murag bagyo nga, but on a larger scale than what we have here on Earth.
Bagyo but lain nga planeta.
Lain nga planeta nya mas dako.
Kamusta mo ang kaning weather sa sa Saturn o sa Jupiter? Kung adto ta dito karon, pwede na ta maka-event dito dili. How's the weather there?
We cannot survive the weather there because even in Jupiter, the jet stream itself is 700 kilometers per hour.
Oh my goodness!
And
wow.
They have a huge what they call the Great Red Spot, which is like a giant typhoon about twice the size of the Earth.
Wow!
That has been there for over 200 years.
How about Saturn, sir?
Saturn, it's also
the weather there today.
It's still violent. The thing is, it's a planet where the atmosphere is more powerful than what we have here. and we're actually waiting for a big storm on Saturn.
Wow.
15 years ago, there was basically a giant thunderstorm that appeared on Saturn. I was involved with the monitoring of that storm, and it became one of the largest storm in the solar system. It was a huge murag thunderstorm, thundercloud, which appeared. We call it the dragon storm.
Wow.
So we're expecting, since the seasons of Saturn are longer than what we have in Earth. Saturn orbits the sun once every 24 years, something like that.
Mm.
So
Nagunahuna magud mi sir og
seasons are
mangitag
longer.
laing venue for the Christmas party ba. Okay, bas kuyawan mi mag-uwan bitaw. So Saturn and Jupiter out of the question, good sir.
Dili jud pwede.
Out of the
Dili
question.
dili gid pwede day. Sir, kaning ang anong Saturn ug Jupiter man, I mean like there are closer planets to Earth, Mars or Mercury. Anong imuhang fascination is with these two planets, man? I know they're two of the biggest in the solar system, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, the thing is, imaging, let's say Venus and Mars is not that easy because of their orbit configuration. Example, Mars, you can only really see Mars once every 2 years. There's, in fact, a gap on Mars because of its orbital dynamics.
Oh, wow.
So it comes close to the Earth once every 2 years. So yeah, I still observe Mars. In fact, I've been also involved with Mars once it's what we call Mars season. I have friends who are are working on the rovers and some Mars spacecraft. So we do also Mars research. Venus is even more difficult because it's an inner planet. So it's a planet that's very close to the sun. So it's difficult, especially kita nasa equator. We only have a short time, and normally Venus is very low in the sky. Masamot ng Mercury Mercury you can barely see it because it's too close to the sun. So Mars and Jupiter have very dynamic atmospheres. Jupiter, every image of Jupiter is different. That's why it's one of the planets where you can do a lot of discoveries. And
So imong specialized, or you mentioned, is Mars and Jupiter, di ay?
yeah, actually Jupiter and Saturn, and sometimes Mars during
Jupiter and Saturn.
yeah,
So
Mars, Saturn,
is Jupiter and Saturn more visible than the other planets that you mentioned, being
Yeah,
Mercury, Mars, and Venus?
It has a long season, about 10 months. So
10 months a year.
Saturn, yeah, 10 months a year. So right now we're on the tail end of the Saturn season, and we've just almost begun the Jupiter season. So right now, if you want to see Jupiter, you have to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning. Saturn is early in the evening. You can see Saturn right now. One thing interesting about Saturn now, which is very rare, is that the rings are almost edge on.
What's that,
So
sir?
you can
Almost what?
edge on.
What does that mean, edge on?
You can barely see the ring raw. It's almost perpendicular na to ba. So you cannot see the round ring anymore. It's a thin a thin line na lang ang ring karon. So this happens once every 14 years. So the next time you'll see this will be 14 years from now. In fact, one of my images
ngano man na, sir? Ngano man na? Is this is that
orbital.
It's
It's
just
just
the
orbit.
angle lang na siya, angle pro.
Angles are but from our point of view.
Pero dili gyud na siya, nothing is going on with a ring in terms
No,
of
it's basically
thickness.
because in its orbit mo flip man na siya. It will go to the north, then it will go kanang center, then south na sad niya, bali na sad. So mura yung cycle. In fact, one of my images of this during the closest became NASA's astronomy picture of the day.
Wow.
A few days ago, last week.
Oh, wow. So we actually invited you here, sir. Aside from everything else, of course, we are very curious, and a lot of people, not just here in Cebu but all over the world, are curious about the 3IA Atlas. Can you please tell us, sir, unsam gining 3IA Atlas? Would you consider this one a UFO, a UAE? Unsa may tawag nila? Identified.
One problem I have is that a lot of people commenting about this have no idea what a comet is. And the problem with this hula baloo is that there's this astronomer in Harvard, Avi Loeb, and the thing is, he's not even a planetary astronomer. He's more on deep space astronomy. And I'm familiar with planetary astronomy because these are the guys I deal with. Studying comets, planets. These guys are the guys I deal with. And also, I've been observing comets since, in fact, that's how I started in astronomy in 1985 during the last apparition of Halley's Comet.
Oh, wow. Halley's Comet. Yeah.
So that was 1985. No, the thing is, you have to understand what a comet is before you can start saying. A comet.
What's ang comet there, sir?
So a comet is basically a remnant of the formation of a planetary system.
A remnant.
So it is basically a block, a boulder of a mixture of ice and rock. So murag salin is yeah. So if you think about when a star is formed, during a star system, when a star is formed, it starts with a nebula of gas, hydrogen gas, and other materials. Now I'm talking about third generation stars, because the first generation stars after the Big Bang was just pure hydrogen. Now, on the third generation stars, when more elements are formed by nuclear fusion inside the stars, so they start with a cloud of hydrogen and other trace materials, other elements. So what happened is that gravity will start forming a star in the middle of this cloud, and around that star are debris, murag mga bato, mga ice, these things. This debris, when the star is formed, this debris, when they hit each other, they will start to form planets. So that's basically how the solar system will form. Ang salin ana, which is on the basically the outer part, on the inner part of that planet star system, will be what we have like the asteroid belts. Further out, when it's on the outer part, farther from the star, that's where you have it's cold enough to have ice. Then you have the debris of the comets.
So are you categorizing 3I Atlas as an asteroid, sir? Is that what it is?
No, we'll get to that. I have to explain what a comet is.
Okay.
Because to understand what 3I Atlas is, you have to understand what a comet is. Because there's a lot of talk right now about 3I Atlas and these things, but people have no idea about comets. They only repeat the stupid things. The problem is Avi Loeb, the first thing we found out that this thing is interstellar, the first thing he said, without any evidence yet, aliens. So I mean that's stupid.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we are predisposed to catastrophe, and people get so cooked up with these things. And I tell you, remember 2012?
Yes, of course.
Remember 2012? Everybody was the end of the world, end of the world. It happened. After that, we tell them, kumusta ang 2012? Hilom. Everybody forgets about it. And the same thing happened with Waumea. This was the second interstellar object, and the same thing is.
Sir, unsa man ang interstellar object, sir? Can you explain to us, sir?
Let me finish the comet. Go on. Once you understand the comet, then we'll talk about the other things.
Sige.
When you have these star example, in our case the solar system, the layer of comet is called the Oort cloud.
Okay.
So it's a shell on the outermost from about I think a third of a light year to 1 light year away. The 1 light year is the distance light travels in 1 year. There's a shell of comets there.
Okay.
So daghan ka ng mga debris na bilin. Now, as our sun goes around the galaxy, sometimes some star would come close to us.
Okay.
As it gets close, katong ubang comets, manglabay ni padong sa inner solar system. Now, what happens is that, think about it, an ice and rock, once it gets close to the sun, the ice will start to sublimate. It will not melt because of the vacuum of space. Liquid cannot exist. So from solid to gas, it's called sublimation. So I think a good example is dry ice. Diba?
Dry ice, okay.
So dry ice, when you have dry ice, mag-asura na siya. So the carbon dioxide in the dry ice will not go through a liquid phase. Itsura siya sa kanang gaseous. So the same thing happened. But in the case as these comets gets close to the sun, it becomes more violent. It will have geysers. In fact, we have sent spacecraft to Halley's Comet, the first comet we encountered. And that's what we saw. We saw what we call a dirty snowball.
Dirty
So
snowball.
just imagine an ice and mud and rock kana gimix nimo tanan nga pagaduol sa sun sa murag nag you know what a geyser is?
Yes,
Murag
yes. Kind of
fountain ba?
like water coming out
Fountain
of.
of gas.
Yeah.
So that fountain of gas, first of all, forms a coma.
A,
Mura
co-
na a shell
a
of
coma. What's a
kanang
coma?
debris, a shell of debris surrounding the nucleus, basically the comet itself.
Mm.
So all comets have a coma. Mura na siya kanang unsa may kuan ako ana kanang makakuan ka nag example na kay kanang liquid nitrogen. There's a murag a cloud around it or liquid kanang kuan kanang dry ice nga there's a cloud around it. So mura na siya cloud around the kuan. Nya katong mga debris nga mga rock particles ana those are the ones that will form a tail. So mo na ang comet. So as the comet gets close, normally, everything in space moves on orbit. There's no such thing as a free movement in space. Kaya we have a big body called the sun which controls everything. Dili man ta pareha diri nga sa Earth nga example mo drive ka gikan sa syudad mo to Karkar, you can do whatever you want. In space, you cannot do that. That's why when we send spacecraft into another planet, we have to work out the orbit as it orbits around the sun, and our orbit from the Earth nga hindi ka release sa katong spacecraft, it will go on orbit. So everything that comes and goes in the solar system or any planetary system or stellar system will be orbiting the most massive object. So kidding comets will of course be attracted to the sun, not to the Earth, not to the planets. Kay the sun is the king. It's the biggest. It's about basically all the mass of the solar system. We are less than 0.001/1 quadrillion percent
Wow.
of the sun.
I cannot wrap my head around that number, sir.
So gamay ra gyud kay ta. So as the comet gets close to the sun, if it were from the Oort cloud, the orbit would be what you call parabolic.
The what?
So,
yung trajectory?
Yep, it will be a parabola.
Okay.
Yung orbit.
Okay.
So we will know nga okay, this is a local kanang comet kay yung orbit is parabolic. But the thing is, in rare cases, in fact we only had 3 cases when the orbit is hyperbolic. Kanang ang parabola is kanang murag
bukid,
elliptical ba?
Murag
siyang ellipse. So close ang yang orbit, sirado magtuyok ra siya, balik-balik ra.
Okay.
When you have an hyperbolic, dili siya close, open ra siya.
Okay.
So tapsing ra siya ba? So it will come to the sun, mo curve siya padung sa sun.
Mabali na
Of
pod.
course, when it gets close to the sun, mo accelerate sa gamay. Di gyud usay, accelerate yung dako, nya human, it will go back out. So that's why we know the 3I is kanang interstellar. It does not come from the solar system. It comes from outside. It's from the galaxy, from another star system. So the reason why we're so excited with this is we're not familiar with the material of that kanang comet.
What is it made of, sir?
So the comets are made of mostly ices of water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, and rock.
Okay.
Pero majority of these are ices, mga ice of water ice, carbon dioxide. These are the 2 principal.
Okay.
Usually in the solar system, mostly it's water. 3I is carbon dioxide.
Okay.
So because it comes from a different star system, whose star is of course slightly different composition from our sun. So that's of course expected. Now it should be different. But the thing is, the fact that majority of the composition, and we know because we took the spectra of this comet, majority of the material of the comet is this one: what? Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water. So from the spectra itself.
Okay, what's a spectra, sir? What's a spectra?
Spectrum. When you take murag rainbow ba? So when you take the light of any object, this is how we find what a unsay material sa those outside which we cannot touch anymore. In fact, here on Earth, what we have, what we call is mass spectrometer, which means it's a device where you place an item there, by getting the light out, you will know what's its composition, percentage pa. Why is
So
this? Because
there's an instrument that measures or sees a distant object up out there in space, and yeah, it finds out, it figures out what it's made of based on
the spectrum,
based on based on the light that emits that it emits.
In the case of the comet, it does not emit light; it reflects sunlight.
Okay.
So what happened is that, the thing is, when look at ourselves, we see colors, di ba?
Yeah.
The reason why we see colors is that, the atom, di ba, naman na electron. So we're going to talk a little about quantum mechanics.
Yes, please.
Now each element, di ba, naman na different electromagnetic levels.
Yes, sir.
So when light hits these electrons, each element will have a signature. Nga mo jump from one electron level to another.
Okay.
Then once it does that, that light is absorbed. So in the spectrum, example, from the sun of the spectrum, it will be a dark line.
Okay.
So each element, each compound, each kaning molecule will have a signature. Kaya depende sa iyang electromagnetic structure. This is discrete, and we have recorded this. So here on Earth, nga mo ni ani nga helium, ani hydrogen, mo ni methane, ani tanan element, nanatay library ana nga unsay spectrum iyang response. So in fact, that's the fastest way. Kanang normally sa chemistry, nakaagi kag chemistry, normally imo man ang there's the long way is kanang chemical analysis ka. Karon the faster way is spectral analysis na kay o chemistry analysis will take mga 2 to 3 days. Ang spectral analysis you can do it in 10 minutes.
So that you already know the composition of 3IA Atlas through a spectrometer. So how does that look like? Does that look like a telescope, sir? So how does that look like?
No, the telescope, you get the light, you place it on a prism.
Okay.
So in a prism nimo, di ba, mo rainbow man na. So once you see the rainbow, you'll see dark lines on the rainbow. And from the dark lines, you can see, this is carbon monoxide, this is water. So each element has a signature dark line.
Wow,
so
interesting.
From there, makaspread out na ka. When you look at stars, how do we know the composition of stars? Through the spectra. Yeah, because we have tested this here on Earth. Na each element responds on a specific way.
Wow.
So mo na siya nga makahibaw ta nga o kana siya hydrogen, kana siya water ana. So from the composition itself, it is a comet. If it were a spacecraft, you would expect it to be metal. It has metal, but it's very trace. And it's understandable. Ganun ay sa metal. Kaya naman sa mga rocks. It has a mixture of rocks. So it's understandable. But it's very trace. It's like less than 1%, less than 1,000%. But you can still see the intensity of the signature. Kaya ang spectra sa nimo, from the strength of the signature, you'll know how much it has. So that's why you can gauge.
Nag-ingon po sila, sir, ba nga I think this is why this is also important nga ikaw atong suryaon kay murag padung siya or naa na ba siya sa one of the planets? Is it Jupiter or is it Mars? Or where is it near?
Actually, we already know because we have as soon as we discovered it, we can really track its orbit.
Okay. So where is it now? Where is it now, right now?
Right now, it's actually going to be closest to Earth on the 19th, but that's about twice the distance from the Earth to the Sun.
Layo.
So layo siya.
Pero dool siya padung siya or dool siya sa Jupiter or Saturn?
It's going to get close to Jupiter, but I mean, it's not that close. Probably about the distance from kanang siguro the Earth to Venus.
Okay.
That distance.
Nag-ingon man kun sir, people are saying online ba nga it is exhibiting a kind of behavior kuno nga medyo murag naiplano ba nga murag ni tapad siya sa Jupiter kuno or motapad sa Jupiter mo duol sa Jupiter but not enough nga mo kuan kuno
we already know about that because we know its orbit
gravitational pull. So mura kunog naay gibuhat kuno ba? Tell us about the behavior of 3IA Atlas.
Ang kon maguna na god kay when you talk about behavior, it means nga it's going out of its orbit.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's still going on its predicted orbit. Once you discover a comet, what happens is that what you get is you have a set of kanang parameters like on the orbital inclination you can actually feed it to a computer nga map out na nimo asa siya padung. So as soon as we discovered it after a few days, when we had enough points data, we already know nga it's gonna go get close to Mars. So we had our spacecraft there on Mars ready to observe the comet. When it's going to go to Jupiter, we have a spacecraft there called Juno. We already know that. So it's not something gituyo ginagduol. That was already part of its orbit.
Okay.
But secondly, if it were a spacecraft, why is it mostly water and carbon dioxide? Who the hell would make a spacecraft with that material?
I don't know, man.
You can't. I mean, unless of course it's a spacecraft like Aquaman.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's a very unstable. It's a very unstable material to make a spacecraft.
Okay.
And secondly, you should bear in mind that in space, grabe king radiation, whatever electronics you have, it's not gonna last long. It's gonna be kanang whatever kanang unsay na dia nga imong instruments dia madaot kina madugay.
So nga naman sir, why are these conspiracy theorists saying this is an alien spacecraft? Is it just plain stupidity? Are they just trying
Why
to...
was 2012 very popular? Why did they make a movie out of it?
Because it was the end of the world, right?
Yeah, but even then, this is the same. It's the same logic. We know that nothing's going to happen. But people has that propensity to believe, shall we call BS.
Pero
that's a problem.
Para nako sir correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if this is a correct way of looking at things. If anytime the world talks about space and stuff, it's a win for the space program of the world, right?
Yeah.
Is that a correct point of view, sir?
But the thing is, we have to have the right information, because if we keep on spewing BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's going to believe us. Okay? What we try to push is the truth. So the thing is, if we deviate from that, no one's going to believe us. It's like the boy who cries wolf.
So kanisya, sir, when it's going to be its closest to Earth, did you say on the 19th of December? Is that what you said?
19th of December, it will be closest to Earth.
So will it be visible from Earth?
No. It's too far away. This is a very small comet.
How would you compare the size of it, sir? Like compared to Earth or the moon?
It's very small. It's only 1 kilometer.
1 kilometer across. So gamay
it's 1 to 2 kilometer. In fact, even if you compare it to Halley's Comet, Halley's Comet is about 60 to 100. So this is a very tiny comet. In fact, if you see pictures bitang spacecraft, that's BS. You cannot resolve even with a big. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's conspiracy theory." NASA spacecraft, the telescope in the NASA spacecraft is smaller than even my telescope, because it was built not to observe comets but to the planet. Kanang example to like the MRO, it's to observe Mars. So it doesn't need a big telescope.
So
and even with
continue, sir. Go ahead.
Even with the Hubble Space Telescope, which is a 2.4 meter telescope, if it looks at the moon, the smallest it can probably see is about siguro mga 1 kilometer. And you're talking about a distance farther from the moon, which is the closest about twice the distance from the Earth to the sun. So I mean, you can't really get anything from that. So kanang those things nga mura nag spaceship ningon nga this is the picture of NASA nga kuan that's BS.
Sir, I'm curious ba nganong giusab man ni sir, let's pivot a little bit. Nganong giusab man ni sa, I don't know who's in charge of this acronym. Why did they change it from UFO, which is an unidentified flying object, to UAP? UAP, which is what does it mean again? What does UAP stand for?
Actually, it's the it's the
unidentified. What is this? Unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Nganong, why did we change it? Was there a special reason why we changed it?
This is not a scientific one. This is from the NSA, National Security Agency of the U.S.
Okay.
So this is not a scientific one, kanang a term.
Okay.
In fact, I have friends who are astrobiologists,
Okay.
and of course, they welcome UFOs if ever there is.
Mm.
But you have to bear in mind that traveling in space is not simple. Even magstudya ka mo to tag Mars. Unsa may some problems when you go to space. Number one is the radiation. You cannot survive the radiation in space. I mean, it's so intense nga.
Mm-mm.
It's like having an X-ray constantly
Mm.
during the duration. Secondly, when you're in space, your bone marrow stops producing RBC, red blood cells.
Wow. What does that mean medically? Does that mean that you'll
Well,
have porous bones?
anemia.
Okay.
Your blood will, red blood cells is kanang imong dugo. Mahuno og himog dugo imong lawas.
Mm.
So what do you think is going to happen after a few months or kanang after a few years in space? You're going to die. Your bone density is going to go down. Your muscle density, you'll have muscle atrophy. Mura ka kanang kakuan kas kanang mga na-paralyze nga magsigil lagigda, mukuyos ilang tiil. That's what's going to happen to you.
So
Mga mga astronauts nga nasa ISS, they cannot stay very long. After 1 year, they have to come down, or else they're gonna suffer.
So kani si 3i Atlas sir ba is because we've had similar stories before about a possible UFO or unidentified flying object or whatever you want to call it, right? Or UAP, which is unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Well, this is like the closest that we've had in a long time about a conversation about a flying thing in space, right? What was the most significant?
First of all, kanang UFO, think about it ba nga, we only started seeing UFOs after War of the Worlds. You know War of the Worlds?
Yes, the movie. Yeah,
that review.
yeah.
Kuan.
The radio show became a movie.
And secondly, most of the viewed kanang UFOs are flying saucers, which was what was kuan sa War of the Worlds. Now, why flying saucers? If you make a spacecraft ba, the flying saucer is the worst shape to have.
Nga naman, sir. Nga naman. Nga naman.
Yeah, kay una agad ang flying saucer. How do you make a direction there?
So walay direction. Magtuyok-tuyok lang siya.
Kung kag spacecraft, di ba, na kay propulsion system. A flying saucer can only go up and down.
Okay.
Diba?
Because of its
How
shape.
can you go horizontal? Kanang kuan?
Forward, backward.
Because of the shape of it.
So,
Symmetrical.
I don't know if this is true, but I've noticed and I've read and people seem to notice mas nagadaghan kuno karon og mga sightings, quote unquote sightings. Is this true, sir? Are there flying objects all over more than ever before?
Actually, the problem is ignorance of science. Now, there was this policeman who saw a light, nga very bright light ba? Yung gigukod for 5 hours. It turned out to be Venus.
Okay.
Ignorance. I mean, whenever there's a launch of SpaceX, if you go to Los Angeles during the launch of SpaceX, there's a weird cloud that appears for a UFO. If you don't know anything about there's a launch, then you say, oh, that's a UFO. Many times these are atmospheric phenomena, sometimes astronomical phenomena. Muna gitawag siguro nag UAP. Then when you understand a little further, then secondly ba, if you have a spacecraft from outer space ba, I would expect a huge spacecraft, not a small spacecraft. Why? Space is a huge kuan. Just imagine, mato kang Amerika ba, magbangka lang ka. Mabuhi ka, makaon pa ka. Di ba? You need wood, food supply, water. Malibang pa ka. You know, everything you have to kuan.
You have to consider that.
Yeah, you consider that. Yeah, you have a small spacecraft, let's say, as kuan. You need a big spacecraft to do that, to go to space. And not only that, to protect you from the space radiation.
Naghisgot man to, sir, a few weeks ago nakakita kog balita nga quote unquote declassify kuno ang mga whatever top secrets about UFO UAP. What do you know about the declassified?
There was no I don't really go for that because a lot of those are just BS.
Okay.
And I have friends who work in SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence,
Okay.
and they should know. And there was just nothing. I mean, think about it. If there was really a real contact, that would be front page news everywhere.
To me,
Pero nganon hilo man, I mean, usasad ba kanang musulti kag secret bitaw, especially sa NASA ana ba. Kanang I've known people in NASA, they're the most kanang you can keep a secret from this guy kay kinsay makauna will be famous eh.
Okay.
Yeah, ikaw naka-discover ka. NASA is not like the military nga kuan. Ikaw magdali ka kay maka-publish kag paper, sikat ka. Yeah. In fact, one thing I've worked with research in NASA. Ang number one nila kay problema nila kay kuan funding. They can get funding, so that's their kuan. In fact, I have a friend who works in the Jet Propulsion Lab in NASA, and he would tell me he spent 60% of his time writing proposals for funding.
So kaning SETI, I remember this was made into a movie with Jodie Foster, katong Contact, di ba?
Yeah.
Momento, di ba?
SETI Institute.
That was a movie about the SETI Institute, right? And the thing that they discovered in that movie was kind of was that a true story, or was it?
No, that was a kanang Contact is a that's a novel by Carl Sagan.
Okay.
So SETI Institute does a lot of research.
Okay.
It's, number one, a private organization. It's not connected to NASA. So I have friends who are planetary astronomers.
So what was the closest thing that we've had to a UFO, sir? Discovered by SETI or whoever, whatever.
Wala pa. Normally SETI they monitor radio waves.
Yeah. So were there like weird radio signals from space?
The weirdest there was one time they had a constant. It happened in Australia. They had a periodic radio kanang reception every 12 o'clock. And at first they thought, this was aliens. Then they found out nga it was the microwave oven they took.
A literal microwave oven?
Kay
asa man?
Alas 12 man sa udto.
Ting paniod to.
Ting paniod to doon na sila microwave oven dito man na mag-reheat silang pagkaon. Untop gid alas 12. Doon na gyud mo gawas nga signal mo gawas.
Astang
pagkuha na to nga ang sa kuha na dito microwave. I know because I know the people involved there. I visited the radio telescope there in I think it was the Parkes Observatory in Australia, in New South Wales. So that was that one. But usually, ngon ana na nahitabo nga there was a local interference. But so far, we've been trying to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, but so far, wala mong good. Think of it this way, ba? Nga, looking at the universe, ba, there is a huge possibility of life outside the universe. Possibility, but it's not a reality yet because if you look at our life here on Earth, there's a lot of basically rare things that are on Earth that is difficult to replicate in other planets. Like number one, we're in the habitable zone on a stable star. Our sun has been quite stable. Most of the stars are very violent. They have extreme flares. There could sometimes if you're a young star, you'll explode fast. So timing ito, we have a stable star. Second, we have a moon, which basically regulates and prevented our planet to be like Saturn. Like Venus. Venus. One rotation of Venus the year of Venus is shorter than its day. So if you can imagine our planet that has a night of let's say half a year and a day of half a year, how can life exist? Because you have extreme temperatures if that happens.
Kung namo yung mga tanang mga kahigalaan, this is amateur astronomer Christopher Go, Armando Perez, Jenny Rose Bautista, Arconado, who else is here? Bismarck D. Zabat, Michael Maasin Baron. Daghang salamat sa inyong pagpamina. Kung namo yung mga pangutana about alien life, extraterrestrial space, the weather perhaps, and whatnot, please let us know. Na si Christopher, tagsara ni siya na ito madakpan, si Christopher Go, who is a amateur astronomer. Kanang astronomy ba? Wa mo ginang kursuha diri sa Pilipinas, Sir Za?
Na RTU is kanang basically offering it in Manila.
Which particular university is this, Chris?
Rizal Technological Institute.
Okay,
University.
so kanang amateur. How do you get that distinction?
It's just a hobby.
Okay.
It's just a hobby. And anybody who's doing astronomy is an amateur astronomer.
Okay.
I've been doing. It's been my hobby since for the last 40 years since I was in high school. So yeah, it's something interesting. Yeah, kanang. Although right now it's a little more serious because I do a lot. Basically, my main thing that I'm doing is imaging planets, and I'm basically one of the top planetary imagers in the world.
Wow!
So as they say,
why is that important, sir? Why is it important to image and to know more about the planets in the solar system, lang?
Because they need my image to basically understand the weather patterns on Jupiter. And there's actually a group of amateur astronomers that are also who get my image and basically measure each of the features in Jupiter, so we can track the weather patterns on Jupiter.
So sir, can you explain to us, sir, layman, sir, ba? Kaning you mentioned the weather patterns of Jupiter. Kanang weather ba? Can you explain to us unsa ng what's weather? Can you please break it down to us?
Well, weather is something very complex. It's basically the changes in the atmosphere. So one thing about here on Earth, we have a very dynamic weather because basically our weather is number one driven by liquid water, which is our oceans. So a lot of our weather patterns comes from the oceans. So from the evaporation of water and to the recycling, evaporation to the precipitation. These things regulate the weather of our planets. Our planet now. The thing is, weather is so complex. You can't really predict weather on a long-term basis. Only basically on a day or two. This goes with chaos theory because when you have too much variables, it is something that is difficult to predict. So that's why mostly when you're doing weather, it's all statistics. If you go through, let's say, 1 million variables, even a supercomputer, pabuang yun, and you cannot really input all the variables.
So difficult yun na to predict weather with 100% accuracy. But how are we, sir, in predicting, let's say, weather conditions like typhoons? Where are we?
Everything is everything is on probabilities.
Okay.
There's no such thing 100. Example, there was one time NOAA, this happened, a hurricane in Florida. They were, imagine it was in the Gulf of Mexico. It was on its way to Louisiana.
Okay.
That was a predicted path. When it's reached, Fort Myers, it went to the right towards the Atlantic Ocean. So katong nagapuyo dito, kabuang sila. I mean, didn't expect that. Neither did the NOAA. So, these things are very difficult to predict because it's really unpredictable.
Pero compared to, let's say, 10, 20 years ago, the way we predict typhoons now is getting more accurate?
It's still the same. It's still the same.
Really?
It's still the same.
You think so? So nga naman na, sir, pananglitan, kato atong bagyo nga ni Agi, katong Tino. Di ba? Medyo naam tayo makita ni mga images of a what do you call that? A weather condition, right? Mga tracker.
Actually, ang Tino was a bit unpredictable, but the last one that we had, katong ulan. Remember what? Katong Verbena.
Oh.
Di ba supposed to be south man tumigo? Now, what happened is nakalit na sa wagtang sa south, i-reform sa Cebu.
Nga naman
that was not expected. Well, that thing happens rarely on something like this when you have a tropical depression, makalit man ang ingunana. But, something that we didn't predict. Kalit lang wagtang diri na nibalhin dito. Magic.
So I'm not.
It reformed.
When I ask you when I ask you about our weather predicting accuracy, but I'm not just talking about here in the Philippines, but as a species, as the world, ba. Like, are we getting more accurate in predicting typhoons, or pareha ra gyapon ta from 10, 20 years ago?
It's well, we can say we have some models. Our models are better.
Okay.
But still, in the end, pareha ra gud ani god kanang pa-drive mo nako ka gikan sa kanang, let's say, Cebu to Karkar. Kanang, can I predict which way you will be going, considering the traffic situation and these things? Dili good. Depending of the time of the day, depending on kuan, mag-usab-usab mong ruta of traffic diri sa SRP, balhin ka diri Pikas. Same is true with the typhoon. There's a lot of meter, as they say, even the flap of the wings of the butterfly can affect a weather pattern.
So kaning weather ba, aside from the flood control project controversy, but why is it still flood control controversy aside, why is predicting the weather, especially in this day and age, still very controversial, man? Sir, what do you think? Where's the controversy coming from?
No, it's not a controversy. You have to accept it that's how nature works. Nature is so complex. To tell you, even the planets, the orbits of the planets, we think it's stable. It's like clockwise. It's not, because we only measure the major planets because we don't even know how many asteroids there are. Even a small asteroid can affect the orbit of the planet. Our accuracy of our prediction of the planets is only good, let's say, for the next 5,000 years. After that, we don't even know kanang December will be winter 20,000 years from now. Wow. Because we know that the rotation of the Earth is slowing down. The orbit is slightly changing, even though how small it is. It will have a big effect in the future. Just as in here, in a typhoon, a small change, for example, in Yolanda, what happened was that Yolanda was supposed to hit Cebu. But suddenly, the day before, nausab yung kuan, it went straight north. Then before it went west. Igo ang kuan. Imbis Cebu, dito siya nitugpa dito sa kuan. You cannot predict that. These things happen. It's nature. As they say, you cannot speak the mind of God. It's too complex even for science to kuan. So that's why right now we're trying to use AI. But even then with AI,
so what you're saying is weather is very unpredictable. But where is the hullabaloo or the controversy? I venture in calling it. Where is it coming from, sir? Like unsa man maglain-lain?
No, the thing is, people don't understand. People want certainty, which we cannot give. There's nothing certain in life. Can we predict the traffic tomorrow?
Well, kibaw jud ko ang traffic, pero I don't know where. Basig na mabangga, simbako, ano bitaw?
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
So similar to that, sir. Similar to that nga. Pananglitan sa Cebu City, kibaw man ka pila ka bok, let's say registered nga sakyanan. So kung let's just say kung you had to predict today is going to be a traffic day because ting buhi sa mga tao sa padung eskwelahan, padung opisina, so maka-predict ana diha ra kutob, right? Kung nay mabangga wa guba imuhang prediction. Is that what you're saying, sir? Wagtang man si Christopher Go, ang atong ka istorya karong udtuha mga kaigalanan ni udto ta og asteroids.
Yeah.
Asteroid. Ikaw
asteroids of weather.
Ikaw Ralph, do you are you one of those that mura in maintriga ka og the possibility of life outside of our planet?
Yeah,
na-intriga ba ka na ba?
Yeah, na-intriga. Ma-intriga jud ka. I still remember katong time bata pa ko.
Bata man ka?
Even younger.
Mas bata
pa ko. Okay. Katong mga 2000s, late 2000s. Katong time nga Yahoo was still a very big source of news on the internet.
Search engine.
Yeah, besides being a search engine, like mga news article po, like I would still remember nga, it was like a constant thing. We would check at least in my dad would check Yahoo for news. And makidamdam ko makakita ko mga articles dito nga like every now and then I would see articles about space and mga discoveries in space, and I kind of wanted to ask Sir Christopher Gopod about this. I remember a while back
Sorry, naputol ko.
Oh, okay, sir.
Ni-crash akong computer.
Kuyawan lang ko da. Abi na ako gi-pick up na kag alien, sir. Please continue your story kaning Ralph. Go ahead and then.
Yes, so I remember an article way back in the late 2000s. There was supposedly they discovered life daw in space, and then ang ilang gi-point out, it was like a bacteria. They found bacteria in space, and then I was gonna earlier I kind of wanted to ask Sir Christopher Go if we can like consider that life in space, kanang bacteria.
Actually, I have to clarify that one. So what they had was this is a problem sometimes with NASA. Kay, as I said earlier, a lot of people, kanang astronomers, kanang they're overexcited to get to do a press release because they require funding. So what happened was that there was a meteorite that they discovered. So they cut up the meteorite and they describe what they thought they saw was kanang cells inside that meteorite. But after a few weeks they had to retract it because people were questioning how can these be cells when what you were taking pictures of were molecules. So when you're talking about atoms themselves, how can they be cells?
Oh,
if you understand what I mean.
Okay, so
if it were to be cells, but that's too small to be cells because you're talking about the size of the molecular level. But the thing is, when you're too overexcited to do a press release, that's why sometimes even with NASA, when they do a press release, I always make a pause because sometimes they screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but,
ang katong case sa early 2000s might have been just them being overly excited lang jud to post a discovery.
Actually, nahilom na karon because I know the people involved.
So familiar na kanang yung story, sir.
I know. In fact, kasabaan na mo sila. There was just a few people who were doing it. Yeah. Because sometimes you have a mailing list of these astronomers. Yung kabasa ng pataka ang kagkuan na maguba atong reputation kanang kuan ang problema kay as I said maglisod kag tagog kuan ba something like this ba kay these astronomers are also overexcited kay if you can get press release you can get funding.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Well, basically katong the point that I was talking about earlier katong what kanang kuan ba kanang the movements of the storms and these things and the solar system. We have to understand that nature is not something that you can predict 100%. Just as you cannot predict what your day will be like tomorrow. So we can give you certain parameters that it will not go there. That's why if you look at the typhoon or whatever, there's what you call a probability cone. So we know nga diha lagi sa kutub.
So naman tay gitawag na tong pag-asa, di ba sir, sa Pilipinas, di ba? Unya pag humandaghan kaayog mga weather predicting models or mga websites, mga apps and all of that stuff all over the world, di ba? Na uban nga mutanaw sa Alaska, sa Hawaii, and so on and so forth. Di ba? Kung pangutana ba, why do we need to have our own weather predicting agency or instruments? Why don't we just get na lang from Hawaii or Alaska or anywhere else?
I have to say Pag-asa has done a very good job for the last few years.
Okay.
But as I said, because these models are so unpredictable, you need to look at different models, and sometimes because of the local nature of Pag-asa, their local data, they can, especially when we have a storm like kanang not a fully developed storm, dili gyud typhoon, kanang kuan, mostly accurate yun ang Pag-asa. But again, you have to look at different models. Okay, this is the nature of this. You have to see different sides of the story, not because Pag-asa is not accurate, but it's the nature of things. Example, one of the things which is similar to weather is stock prices. Di ba? Now, to predict the motion of a stock, do you listen to one kanang usa ka what you call a stock analyst? No, you don't. You look at the things at different point of view because each of these have different inputs. Di ba?
So ikaw nila bahalag process?
Yeah, you can process. You see what the kuan kanang unsay ilang kuan, then more or less you can gauge ka sigurado ko di mo igos nila.
So nganong kinahanglan man sir mo tan-aw pa magida og or maghimo pag mo gasto pa tag millions of pesos to make our own weather predicting agency when in fact pwede ram ta mutanaw sa Alaska, sa Hawaii, and all of these other companies, other countries. I mean,
actually, ang reason is because kanang if you look at the kanang unsa ni kaning sa JTWC, they don't really give a crap on what happens in the Philippines. So all their kanang ilang what they care about is where their naval assets are. So get out of the way. We have to know exactly asa ang typhoon specifically. Bahala for them, they don't really care nga maigo ba sa Tacloban, sa Cebu, or sa Davao, or sa Manila.
So it helps where the instrument is situated and located. So kanang kung ang ako bugong pagtuog nga gikan na sa space, gikan na sa gawas sa space. So dili siya kinanglan nga it has to be specific to one area. It can predict weather more or less in the entire world. Is that a correct description of it?
The space is you can only see the motion of the clouds.
Oh.
Here we have pressure meters. That's why Pag-asa has different stations all over the Philippines. So you can understand, example, from the pressure that they measure, they can more or less gauge where the path of the typhoon is when it already hits us.
So it helps you to have the weather instruments in your country, in your location.
Yeah. In fact, we need more weather instruments. Even the Doppler radar, this is something that I've been trying to push. Luoy mo kayong Pag-asa. Problema lagi sa Pag-asa karon kay kuwang kay sila funding. Now, I have a lot of friends in Pag-asa. We have 19 bato ka Doppler radar, unsira ka kadagan. Now, this is so important kay mo ni mag-measure sa ulan. In fact, if you notice, walay coverage ang Mindanao kay magkuhan sa Mindanao, we cannot warn. Just like what happened in Spain when they had that flash flood in Valencia, daghang kay patay. They could have warned. Now, with the right instruments, kanang problema kay gibaliwa ra man gud ang luoy sa Pag-asa kay they have a very high turnover.
Sir, naghisgot man kaganiha sir ba nga murag lisod kayo predict gyud ang weather ba? But niingon sa ka nga ang Pag-asa kuwang siya og funding, kuwang siya og mga instruments and grabe kay turnover. Akong pangutana sunod ani sir is
I have to clarify nga lisod i-predict it's not 100%.
Okay.
Well, but we can do a parameter.
Yeah. So
we can narrow down.
Kung panalitan sir ba ideally if if Pag-asa gets the right funding ideally, what would that mean, sir? What does it mean to the Philippines? What does that mean to me, a regular citizen of the Philippines? Kung ang ato ang weather prediction is good.
Have you been to the US?
Yes, sir.
Have you noticed nga if you have AccuWeather, hapit ng ulan, moingon nimo it will rain in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, kanang once mo uwan, the rain will stop in kanang 1/2 an hour.
Yeah, I've never tried that though.
Yeah, you can get that if you have the AccuWeather app. We could have that if we have enough Doppler radars and kanang Pag-asa can integrate that to.
So accurate na gid kay ta right down to the last few minutes sa predicting rain.
You can if you have enough Doppler radar. If you can have enough Doppler radar, you can predict mag tornado diri, magkuan diri, mga local weather you can predict. Dili ra man gud bagyo, kano naman ka nag-flash flight ta diri?
Yes. Tino lagi oh.
No, without Tino. Katong sa una nabaha sa country mall.
Yes. Oh.
Nga di ko to bagyo.
Oh.
That was just a local weather.
What was
Banilad?
Yes,
I
remember that.
With our Doppler, we could have predicted that. We can warn people, mukalit diri, get out of the way.
How many minutes or hours or days can you predict the kanang pananglitan nila na?
Probably siguro mga half an hour before.
Half an hour.
Oh, if it's moving towards you, musulti man na in 10 minutes the rain will start. So I mean, with these things with the right instrument, but the thing is, we cannot really say we don't have money. Di ba?
Yeah.
The Filipinos, the Philippines have a lot of money. They even,
you can tell.
They even got away. Trillions into their pockets. So saying of the Philippines is poor, watay kwarta, that's the freaking, there's no excuse.
Yeah. So kanang ato ang Pag-asa, sir. Tell us about how old instruments are and how backwards we are in terms of
we're
weather
not
predicting.
We have we have advanced instruments, not enough.
Okay, not enough lang. So kaning
Not enough.
gihisgot yung mga Doppler natin, Doppler ang ubang lugar sir.
Nas Mactan.
Mactan.
Nas Mactan, nasa Gian, but not all. No? Usually, kanang dili tanan, patak-patak lang, Manila, kanang Bicol, ana. But, if you want more coverage, in fact, dili rakon, we have, I think, 19, dagang kayong lan pa i-repair. It takes millions to repair this. You might say, it's expensive, but the lives of people, are they not expensive? The properties that will be affected, are they not expensive? So, this is something that we have to think about. And I think katong ang question mo earlier nga ngano ang mga tao dili kasabot ani. I would say it's about scientific literacy. And I think this is something not only Pag-asa should do, but our educational system should add. It should be part of our curriculum to understand these things. Sometimes I would say our curriculum medyo kulang pagamay. Yeah, I remember nga katong gisulti nimo nga kanang when we started this ba nga kanang dancing bitaw. Unfortunately, we're so concentrated with that. And you might think, why are we so the way we are right now? If you go to other countries, they take things from education to everything very seriously. We don't. And this is something that we have to think about. If we care for the future of this country, there are some things that we have to take things seriously. Or we have this mentality bitaw nga pirmi lang ta diri. I tell you, in astronomy ba, I've done a lot of work with Thailand because I've been working with their astronomical and space agency, NARIT, and I've been invited to give lectures there, to do workshops with their astronomers there. And one thing I found out with Thailand is that they were able to change their country from a third world country to something like what we are in 1997. In 10 years, they were able to reduce their poverty rate to about 1%.
From what?
From
their
like us.
So their poverty rate is now
Google poverty rate of Thailand. You can Google that.
Okay.
It's 1+%.
It used to be where, Manday, sir? How much poverty?
Kaya na to, 20-30%.
Wow. So it went down double digits.
They were able to do it.
How?
So they have a way. Simple na kayo. They take things seriously. They got people jobs. Ang ato manggo dire kay we have this kind of concentration of pro-poor ba? Which I would say to keep the poor. And
that word should not exist actually, pro-poor.
Yeah.
I don't like that word.
Basically, the pro-poor means to keep the poor. That's basically what it is. Now, what it should be is what Thailand did. Get everybody to work. Get everybody to work. So if you notice during that time, 97 onwards, the shampoos that we have, most of the products that we have were made in the Philippines. Suddenly, they're made in Thailand. Why? They want their jobs. They don't. So all the jobs went there. They had their incentives. As long as everybody get to work. So when people get to work, we just go up. One ayuda. They become taxpayers. One naman sila DSWD.
3.4% ang poverty rate sa Thailand in 2023. From where?
Wait. Naman to dire. 13.2% in 2019-2020 to 3.4% in 2023.
Ang gisgutan is 1997. But bottom line is nga they were able to reduce kaning poverty significantly. In Thailand. Kita na hibilin ta. Speaking of nahibilin ba kaning space exploration, kaning money in science and so on and so forth ba. Mura manig naay gamay nga kausaban sa leader ba in terms of science and space exploration ba? Is it still status quo ba, sir? Is the United States still leading in space exploration or is China or other countries, India, catching up on our space exploration leaders of the world?
space exploration, the US is way ahead of everybody else.
Including
because,
China.
For many years, including China.
Mm.
They're doing things that, kanang, ang kwan magod sa US ba, kanang, and this is something that we have to bear in mind. Many people think that, these things about space, kwan, kanang science and technology, people view this as superfluous. But I tell you, because, science creates economies. Science research creates economies. When you have a technology leap, like, when you had the internet, everybody thought was, internet, who's going to make money with that? 20 years ago, no one would think what the effect of the internet is what we have now. The e-commerce, e-commerce before, if you want to go bankrupt, go e-commerce. Now, e-commerce are the biggest, the giants right now. So, science create, and that's what Thailand did. And kita man good, pro-poor, we only want the basics, the minimum. We don't even take care of that.
And
our basically our goal is to have the most Miss Universes or most Manny Pacquiaos. Okay ra kayo for a few of us, they can get $1 million by being Miss Universe.
Yeah.
But what about the rest of us?
And speaking of science, sir ba, usasad sa mga pinaka hot button issue karon is kanang artificial intelligence or general artificial intelligence. Is the space exploration and weather predicting using artificial intelligence, and is it getting even more accurate because of AI?
We'll find out. In fact, if you notice, I've been posting Google Mind lately. So it's one of the models that it's still on its infancy stage.
Okay.
It still uses data from other space agency. It's not like it just gets everything out of thin air. It still gets data from JTWC, Euro. So all the models, they still get it makes its own prediction from the data from other models. AI cannot exist by itself. They say that AI is like the British Museum. Yeah. If you want me to explain.
Because it is it's a gathering of information, but AI crunches the data that it gets from about the British Museum, and it comes up with some kind of model, right? So it's not.
In fact, the word is actually to get is rather generous, because you see the controversy of the books, diba?
Yeah.
So you're not using, or nobody's using AI to predict like weather and space and all of that stuff.
There's this guy called Robert Speta who is also trying to sometimes use the Google Quan. Also, in these things we look at all possibilities. So because AI is learning, machine learning.
Correct, yeah.
So it learns, it develops, so it gets more and more accurate. So in time, maybe, but we don't know the future.
So nobody's using that yet. Nobody's using AI for weather yet.
Death, you don't go to AI for life and death.
Okay.
So my view of AI, a lot of people think AI is shall we say, infallible, these things. But AI problemas AI. It doesn't just get the right things. It also gets the trash. So the problem with the internet is
it's full of trash.
Not just it's full of trash. So it sometimes it gets quote unquote polluted by the trash. I'm not really impressed with AI, to be honest. But there is some use of AI. Probably in the future it can get more accurate. But then if you do it for research, if you use it to get knowledge, I would not recommend it.
So let's circle back to 3IA Atlas, Sir Christopher Goy. Why? That's why you're precisely here, right? Amateur astronomer. Why is it that we long to find extraterrestrial life? There have been so many movies about it. The movie of our generation, siguro, I'm sure you know E.T. There was a War of the Worlds you mentioned. So why do we want that? What so badly to have other life forms aside from us Homo sapiens?
Actually, kanang it's not just kanang actually two things that really kanang interest people is number one, end of the world and aliens. Kanang, in fact, if somebody predicts an end of the world, a radio station would all used to call me before. Okay, is it true the planets will align? Although planets align every time. Mo end ang world because the planet will align, just like in 2012. And aliens because there's this kanang longing for us to be not alone. And as I said, I was about to explain it earlier. And we have to understand that there's a lot of special things that we hear on Earth. When you talk about aliens, number one, we have to think, okay, life exists. Secondly, what kind of life is it? Is it just cells or plants, animals? If it's just cells or complex lives. Secondly, if let's say they have animal life or animal-like life, is it intelligent? Diba? Is it intelligent? Does it have intelligence?
Does it look like us?
Yeah, it doesn't have to look like us, but will it have intelligence? Will it be able to think? To have technology? Diba? When they have intelligence, did they develop their space technology?
Obviously, kung kumabot sila dire, they have already developed their technology. Yeah.
But I'm just talking about possibilities. Diba? Probability of statistics. Now, if life is so rare, and even kanang to develop certain life forms is not easy.
I know that life as we know it is a relative rarity, like you said, but the universe is also so vast and so huge, right? So the possibility of life, like you said earlier, does exist, right? In fact, the probability of us just being kita ra gyud ang life in the universe is a kind of conceit, di ba? Nganong kita ra man gyud.
But it could also be a possibility.
Of course, yes. Of course, it's always a possibility.
So I mean that's it. Kanang if there were an intelligent life, because as I said earlier, space travel is not easy. If you have a life form, let's say if it's an organic life form like us, traveling to space requires a huge spacecraft because not only do you have to protect yourself from radiation, but you have to have artificial gravity, and that's not something easy that you can do. It requires a huge spacecraft to be in constant motion, to be constant accelerating. That's not easy to do. In fact, right now we don't have the technology to do that. Absolutely no technology. And the distances of space is so vast. Massive. It takes light itself 4 years about 4+ years to travel to the nearest star system. And you cannot travel faster than the speed of light, because if you travel at the speed of light, you'll be transformed to energy.
Smithereens, right? Sir, in the history of space exploration, in the history of astronomy, when was the closest we ever got to a life form of any kind outside of Earth?
Zero. None.
Zero pagiday?
Absolutely zero. Not even a remote. We've sent spacecraft to Mars trying to look for life. Even fossils of life. Wa yamo good. Not even a little bit of life. We had Viking there who did soil experiments. Wa good. Nothing. We have right now Curiosity and Perseverance, which is moving around Mars. It's Perseverance right now is actually trying to dig over a former lake bed. Some place that had liquid water before. Well, again, I know the people doing research on this one. Well, wala. In fact, if naa, and it would have been a big headline. Okay, it's a race on kinsay makauna. That's just it. China sent his rover. Mausad gibuhat. Kinsay makauna. Okay, bragging rights. Naman yun na. So far wala solid evidence in the solar system, because that's how far we can go.
In the history of astronomy, wala pa gyud.
Yeah, in the history, because when you talk about history, you have to talk about space travel na to. Okay, that's the only time we can really do anything. Di ba?
How about from those spectrometers and from those radio telescopes and all of that stuff?
You cannot detect life just by spectrometers.
Mm.
You cannot because it's too small.
They're saying, man, good sir, nga, di ba? I think there is a planet or a satellite or whatever in Jupiter, right? Nga medyo Europa. Yeah.
Europa, yeah. In
So
fact,
how's
there's a
that? How's that?
spacecraft that's going there. Europa might have an ocean, but it's 1 kilometer under the ice. So we're gonna send a spacecraft there to study. I don't think we can find life. We can't even send a drill there. It's just too deep. But then again, I mean, there might be, but
kanang Europa, sir, it's how big is Europa?
Moon. It's a moon. It's smaller than the moon.
Smaller than the Earth's moon. Can Europa be seen from Earth?
Yeah, you can use a binocular to see Europa.
Really? A binocular?
Yeah, it's actually quite bright.
So you have images of Europa. Maybe you should show it to us.
Yeah. Not now.
Okay.
I have to, in my home computer, I have a lot of images there.
Wow.
But it's I normally take an image of Europa once it transits it gets in front of Jupiter. But it's just a round disk. You cannot really resolve anything in Europa.
But you can also probably perhaps surmise or predict based on the atmosphere of a satellite or of a
there's no atmosphere in Europa.
Okay.
Because the ocean is under the ice.
So how did they discover the quote unquote ocean?
Number one, the surface of Europa is almost devoid of craters, which is weird for a satellite because normally you get a lot of impacts.
Correct.
Other moons of Kwan.
Yes.
So there's something that resurfacing, and it's the geysers, liquid water from underneath. So basically, Europa is mostly made of ice. The surface is made of water ice, and the reason why it has liquid ocean is because of the tidal motion of Io, the volcanic moon of Io, and Jupiter nga gabira-bira niya. So bira siya, muinit ang ilawom niya. So it forms an ocean underneath. But it's a deep ocean. It's about 100 kilometers. So unless we go down to that ocean, it's before we can find life. But again, I mean, that's just pure speculation. Because, as I said, sometimes NASA can get too excited. There was, let's example, a group of professional astronomers not connected to NASA. Okay, one day they had did we discover this planet in this star, extrasolar planet? 2 weeks later, they said, we discovered oxygen on this planet. Then a few weeks later, they had another press release. There might be life because, this one, there's a anak. 1 month or 2 months later, there was a small press release. There was no planet after all because when they did spectral analysis, we did not take into account the Earth has a wobble called precession.
A wobble.
So a wobble.
Mura siya murag ligid nga mawobble gamay?
Mawobble. It's called the precession of the Earth.
Okay.
That's why the North Pole of the Earth will change every 27,000 years.
Sir, I know we're already extending ba. Pardon me, there's one question I really want to ask ba. He's good makagwabol og Earth good. Kaning atong pagpredict sa typhoon, medyo it's difficult, but we have a certain degree of accuracy in predicting weather, di ba, in terms of the atmosphere and all of that stuff. Kaning earthquake ba? Murag tan-aw nako dili man ta makapredict ani sa dili man ni ma-predict yun sa?
Dili.
Unlike
if somebody
typhoon,
says nga po predict, that's
si Nostradamus sa gid siya sa?
Even Nostradamus. I mean, si Nostradamus every say unsa prediction mo man siya mo predict og say mo unsa ko ni predict pagkuan. Mo man siya mosulti ka ng 2006. You can see this in Facebook na the predictions of Nostradamus for 2025, for 2026, 27. Mo siya gisulti ana.
Yeah. So wala pa instrument nga imbento sir ang maka-predict og earthquake. Ngano man sir, why is an earthquake so difficult to
as I said, there's a lot of things that we don't understand. It's too complex.
Okay.
There's a lot of things, even with all our instruments, there are small things, little things can change that can, change a lot of, has a big effect. Even the smallest thing can can have a drastic effect. So we cannot.
But are top people working on that, sir? In the same way that people are working on diseases and all of that stuff, are people working on predicting earthquakes?
The thing is, kanang there's one that the thing is, this thing is a kanang. It's like kanang. Okay, let's try to make a prediction on the behavior of, let's say, the people for the next 3 weeks.
Si Facebook sir makapredict sir.
So basically it's a hopeless because you can only do statistics.
Okay.
So in the end, the only thing we can do is if we use statistics.
Pero you can't use statistics with earthquakes, right?
Well, no, you can't. But the thing is, in the case nga kanang we can do in the earthquake you cannot really, unlike typhoons where there's something visible. In the earthquake we don't see anything. We don't see anything. In fact, if you notice, if there are small earthquakes, the chances of a big earthquake is negligible. But hilom, when hitabo, that's when you get a big earthquake. That's the difficulty part.
So, but what's the?
How can you predict something out of nothing?
What's the closest thing we have to a prediction machine, sir, for earthquakes? What's the closest thing we have? I know the Richter scale measures the strength, right? Pero unsa pa man, what have you kanang Richter scale? Dugay naman kay di bata pa man ko ani, di ba? Is there any new developments in terms of predicting earthquakes?
This is the measure of
correct.
It's not,
correct.
It does not predict the earthquake.
Correct. Yeah.
But the thing is, kanang well, it's easier for you to predict ang tao mangihi. Okay, so when you predict the earthquake, when a lot of these things you cannot see.
Interesting.
A lot.
So you can't see. I would liken the weather in the atmosphere is more nebulous para nako because it's out there in the sky, right? You can't touch it. Niya kanang earthquake mura na sa duol nato diri. Nasa earth ba? So
actually it's easier to predict the weather than the atmosphere.
Than
earthquakes. The earthquake.
Yeah,
okay. Ang earthquake ay kanang maghuwat ka nga example dunay kanang fault line nga wa mo lihok for 300-400 years. So diha mo earthquake. So kanus aman between karon or 100 years from now.
So dugay kayo.
So,
sometimes not within your lifetime.
Not within your lifetime. So there's really nothing Mana nakalisod.
Well, sir, I think I know we can talk all day, but I think kutob ta dire kay murag gipanggutom na ni si atong team dire da ikaw gigutom na sa ka sir. Sir, but I hope we do this regularly because I think there's so many exciting things to talk about out there about space and about what's going on out there. Katong 3IA Atlas, no need to be alarmed. It's just an asteroid, right?
It's not an asteroid. It's a comet.
It's a comet, and it'll be visible.
No,
not visible. Not visible.
It's not visible. This thing is so faint. You need a big telescope to observe it.
Even in its closest to Earth on the 19th of December, so dili pa siya visible.
No, it's not. It's not visible.
Okay.
In fact, you can't even see with binoculars. You have to have a very big telescope to observe it.
Sir, do you have any activities with the astronomy group here in Cebu that you want to plug or something, or maybe?
Normally, right now, the only activities I have are with my students. So, it's not really something kanang sa San Carlos ramon gud niya kanang karon San Carlos is stricto pa kay sila pasugod og public pa.
Okay, so, sir, kaning
karon wala pa
yung activities. Sir, kaning one of my favorite figures in science and also author and science popularizer is Carl Sagan. And also now it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he has a new book called Merlin something, right? Akong pangutana, sir, do you have any books that you can recommend to our listeners and to myself and to Ralph here? Unsa man atong mga libro nga basahon to be able to understand our true circumstance and what's happening in the universe and all of that stuff. Do you have a book that you can recommend?
It's not really a book, but there's a series by Carl Sagan called Cosmos.
Yes.
You can find it
it was remade by Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
I wasn't happy with the remake.
Really? Okay.
So the one, although I have a problem with the one of Carl Sagan, it can be boring, but the explanations are very nice.
Okay.
So and also some of the information is outdated. But more or less, I mean, especially when he talks about the planets, a lot of those are outdated. In fact, I would say a lot of the colleagues of Carl Sagan are basically also my colleagues.
Really
right
now?
Yeah,
Really?
there's this organization called the Division for Planetary Sciences, which is founded by Carl Sagan. So I used to be a member of that organization. So this is an organization of professional astronomers that are doing research for planets. So I used to join them, pero karon na busy na magagawa na lang ko ni appeal. But especially after the discovery of Red Spot Junior, for a couple of years I was there, doing my presentation of my discoveries, and kuan kanang yeah. So it's quite kanang kuan kanang the the Cosmos series is very kanang kuan kanang a good material for understanding basic astronomy.
Sir, before I let you go, for one final kaning request now. Naghisgot man kag Cosmos, naghisgot man taog atong science hero, which is or who is Carl Sagan, and he had a book and a photo about a photograph, the pale blue dot, right? And it was an entire book of his musings of what he saw that day, the photograph from NASA, the pale blue dot, right? And that book was written about 30 years ago. Ikaw, sir, like if you had to add or do something about his musings about the pale blue dot,
I agree with, because
what would it be?
What he said was really what's happening right now. Kanang, kanang, he predicted that there will come a time, we have this information overload. The problem is people are no longer kanang discerning. In fact, kanang, there's this quote from Neil Tyson deGrasse, which he also kanang kuan bitaw got from somebody else. That and I've said this many times, that people keep on saying kanang we have to have an open mind. The problem is that people have their minds so open right now that their brains are falling apart or falling off. So not only do you have to have an open mind, we also need a critical mind. We cannot just accept everything. We have to study why it's like that, because just there's two type of people. One type of people is you just get information. The thing is, having information is not enough. If you don't understand why that information is, then you can easily be deceived. And this is the problem right now. You cannot just get information unless you understand the why. And if you don't get to the bottom of the why, then you can easily be, get a lot of crazy ideas. And this is the problem right now. People can just go to YouTube and say, okay, I understand this one, without really understand what the real thing is. And the thing is, I would say 80% of what's in YouTube is really trash. So in fact, with the advent of AI, you get more trash. And if you're not discerning, if you don't get a critical mind, just because it's on YouTube, puti ang gasulti, oy, Amerikano ang gasulti, tinuod na. No, that's not the case. And unless what the experts say, many people are saying that kanang ang mainstream media nagtago ana. Now to think of it ba, if a mainstream media lies, makiha na sila. And you can make a lot of money out of it. It's something that you have to think about. Kuan. In fact, if there's something aliens, these things, try to check if the mainstream media is reporting it. Because if it's really true, then they would report it. Kaya di mo na sila magpataka. Mga tao mga nusulti nga ay na magpaminaw sa mainstream media na. Let's face it, if they report something that's not true, they will suffer the consequence. Rather than somebody from YouTube, they can just prove whatever they want. And bisag dili tinuod, mukihan nila. They don't even place their name there. So this is something that we have to think. We have to have a critical mind. We have to try to understand. We need to do more self-education. So I would say we cannot limit ourselves to just dancing and making ourselves look good. So we have to develop.
Did you hear that, Ralph?
Also, little by little.
Ako dyan bring up.
Yeah. It's not something we have to do something more.
Yeah.
Okay, we keep on saying we want to make our country better, but complaining will not solve it.
Yeah, but I think I
Talk.
think I think
Mm,
complaining, sir.
mm,
See, the thing is, Mangod, our government and most governments actually don't function well if
mm,
there's they don't act on something if nobody complains,
Mm.
yeah.
right? So kanang society kuno, they say kuno, I don't know if it's true or you agree with
Mm,
me, kanang 'di ba?
mm,
Kanang mga
mm,
Karens kuno, 'di ba? Daghan makana
Uh,
sa gingon sila sa
mm,
Amerika kuno, sige lang complain, 'di ba?
yeah, yeah.
So nindot ko lang kanang society kung daghang mo complain kay because if people complain kuno, people act on the complaint. Kung why mo complain kuno like us
mm,
kuno,
mm,
wa padayon lang na siya. Parangitan na libaong. Lang libaong
yeah,
tunga-tungas dahan daghang kay na aksidente pero why ni complain? So
Mm.
wala
yeah.
gyud na dili gyud na maaksyonan. So they're saying kuno sir nga complaining actually has its function in society. What do you think?
You have to bear in mind, complaining in America and complaining here are two different things. You can complain here all you want, and the government doesn't really give a.
Rat's
Yeah,
ass.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
True.
so kanang one thing you have to bear in mind, the thing is, the thing, the reason why I would push, we have to educate ourselves is we keep on complaining, yet we keep on voting on the same people. What's
Yeah.
the point?
Oh well.
That's the reason why unless we develop ourselves intellectually,
Mm.
when we understand things, when we know not just how to complain, but to act on it during elections, then that's when we can make a difference. In America, you complain if you do so, you screw up. In the next election, you're not going to win.
Mm.
Here, bisag ka na convicted na ka nga ana sayawan lang ka ito yapon. So what's the point? I mean, the complaining here and in the US, here it doesn't work.
Pangitain lang kog lugar sa Jupiter, sir. Malhin ta dito, sir.
No, for me, I think before you read anything, especially in the internet, try to educate yourself. Look at both sides. Look at real data.
Yeah.
Mao na akong kuan ninyo. Try to understand the why.
Mm.
And don't look at things at just one point of view.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Do things at different point of view and understand the whys of why these people say gunani, why these people say gunani.
Mm.
Yeah, go to the experts. Equally more, let's say a guy who's been studying science for many years, and this guy is let's say he's a very fast typist computer with no scientific background. Yeah, suddenly he's been talking about a lot of things about science that he doesn't know about. Then who would you listen to?
Yeah, I know.
More important
Yeah.
thing.
And I think
Look at
your
source.
role, your job, sir, as an educator, as a professor, a teacher in USC is kaning dako kay ka og kaning murag responsibility ba. And
Yeah.
thank you for educating our kids.
Yeah, in fact, that's the reason why I'm just teaching one subject right now, but for me, that's the reason why we need to make an impact. We need people to understand not just the sciences, but for them to question the whys. And this is my kung lang yun nga, in anything ba, ask nga why.
Why?
Not just the what, the
What?
how, the why good, why. Yeah, kanang imong source, imong why. You have to look at the experts,
Yeah.
people who know what they're talking about, not just somebody in the street nga musulti nga magyaw-yaw diha nga kuan nga mao ni mao na. Nga way kalibutan sa sing gisulti. So, we have to be
Convincing mo sa
critical.
paminahon, sir, good?
Yeah, but the thing is, mo man na kay they get clicks, they get
Yeah.
income from it,
Clickbait, di ba?
clickbait. So
Okay.
mo na nga, we have to be more discriminating.
More discerning. Ladies and gentlemen, amateur astronomer, teacher, and entrepreneur, among other things, and friend of mine, Mr. Christopher Go. Daghang salamat, Christopher. Sir,
Okay, sige.
daghang salamat, and I'll see you soon, okay?
Okay.
I'll see
take
you.
care.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Wow, very interesting conversation. Astang ninduta sa among conversation ni Christopher. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Ralph?
Yeah, very informative nga discussion, Jude, and especially ang gatong i-clarify niya about earlier findings, katong mga astronomers and all that, and how it's literally just a race a lot of times, or it's really just a race to get information out, to get this publishing out, kay naasalay financial incentives basically. Kay mga kanon sa ma-fund man sila if nasalay discoveries and all that. It's so we're sometimes gadali sila publish og mga information and yet dili siya fully verified yet. So even the professionals are basically making mistakes like that.
Yeah, and I hope we understand that what he said, especially in the last part of it, is very important. But we have to look at both sides. Like pananglitan na ka information nga mabasahan. Unya nag-ingon ng usa ka newspaper or usa ka tawo nga kaning tinuod ni siya. Imong basahon unsa man ang mga kritisismo anang usa ka butanga. Tanawan nimo nga pananglitan, ingon siya nga X is true and it's true because I saw it, blah blah blah. Tanawa din mo mga critics niya para makibaw ka unsa man imong mangita kag find a way to look at both sides of the story.
Yeah, find ways to verify.
Pero kibaw ka bay, this is again our lazy theory ba. Masayon man good by good kung usa ka butang tinuod.
Lagi.
Mas nindot man kung nga inani na lang. Kung imo pang hunaon kapuya na niya, sige tag research, sige tag basa-basa kapuya, di ba? Kana na lang good.
Lagi.
Diba?
That's why
the lazy theory.
Yeah, that's why I'd say nga on things like kanang mga stereotypes. That's widespread kay it's like a very simplified way of looking at the world and people would prefer things nga kanang simple lang jud. Dili kay gusto di sila ganahan ba mag-overthink and
Correct. Kana na lang mo na good mo na lang. Pero kita sad bay mo look up sad da. Sometimes you have a tendency because I think we can't do it ourselves good nga we can't really go to space or or dig deep into the mountains for archaeological findings or read all of the books about it. Mo look up na lang ta or mo follow na lang ta somebody who we trust, di ba? Usahay, di ba? So, importante kayo ng trust nga kaning commodity sa internet. Kung pananglitan, masaligan ka paminahon, murabag imuhang unsa tawag na ba? Imuhang relegate ang imong thinking to that person bitaw. Pero ikaw nalay hunahuna para nako kung nisalig man ko nimo kung ingon ka nga mo na ni siya. Bitaw mura kag mo adapt na lang ka sa iyang thinking ba, right?
Lagi.
That's kind of dangerous way of looking at it though, but and you have to figure out who your heroes are too, right? What if na agenda ang usa ka tawo, di ba nga na siya ibaligya nga spaceship para nimo? Di ba? Or whatever, di ba? Na siya ibaligya nga unsa ba diha, di ba?
Yeah, true.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, daghang salamat sa inyong pagsalmot sa atong programa. Si Chester Flores, si Jerry Espinosa. Daghang salamat diha kung naamoy mga pangutana, naamoy mga comments and suggestions and whatever, just post it on this particular video, this particular conversation with Christopher Go, amateur astronomer, in our conversation about the weather, about earthquakes, and about 3i Atlas. Daghang salamat. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice.
And I'm Ralph Chavez.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.